Hello, Stephanie Flowers here, completing my Module 7, pulling it all together. So, what I would like to begin with is talk about my philosophy on teaching a little bit. I once heard a saying that the state of confusion always indicates that learning is about to happen, and I truly believe this because if students are really engaged and they are all into it and they're confused, then you know that you're going to be teaching them something one way or another. I think the teacher must be supportive throughout that process of when the students are getting frustrated, but you have to be supportive and encouraging and push through that, and that's whenever the true learning engagement occurs. I also believe that online teachers must be more empathetic to students, and they have to be more focused on the students and their needs. It's a lot harder to see than in a face-to-face classroom. So I think teachers need to be sorry, I'm still a little sick from last week. I'm getting better, but I'm still sick. Okay, continuing on here then, I think that it's important that in that supportive environment that the teachers providing, that it's kind of like the three-part distribution where it's important that there's student to student learning going on, and there's student to teacher learning, but also the student to text learning, and somehow you need to find a way to balance all three of those to fully take advantage of the learning process. A lot of the learning occurs within communities, whether it's communities online or in person, but it's important to have that socialization to have that type of development. Skills and knowledge must be applied. Just because you know something doesn't mean that the learning is occurring, because a lot of times you have to be um, doing it to actually understand it and know it. I'm that type of person where I can sit here and watch a video how to do something, but until I actually do it, it doesn't click with me. So I feel that students learn better by doing things themselves. I also think that reflection is essential. It helps me to kind of think about thinking, and I think that as a student, you need to reflect and kind of explain what what they have learned, and um, how they can apply that learning in new situations. So it was like this project here. Last night I was right before bed. I read over the questions again because I had everything answered in my head, but my husband's like, "Are you reading again?" And I said, "I just want to read through the questions one more time so I can think about it while I'm sleeping." And he just thinks I'm crazy, but that's just how I am. Sometimes I think I spend too much time reflecting, and I just need to jump in and do things. So I think the teachers need to set a good example. It's important for the teacher to be visible even though it's on site. So if the teacher can be present by answering questions and facilitating the discussions on a regular basis. Because if the teacher doesn't check in, why should the students? So I think you need to kind of set that example to move on there too. And another important thing is combining the core concept learning with the customized or personalized learning, because everyone learns, you know, in their own little unique way, and individuals perceive and they process information differently, and they might be able to solve a problem one way. It might be different than you solve it, but hey, if the problem's solved, that doesn't make a difference. I think we just need to worry about the end process in most classes. I mean, I understand that maybe math and other subjects you have to have specific ones, but just kind of in general terms for learning. As far as my future plans go, I would like to implement more of a blended learning classroom in my computer classroom. I'm going on some tours of some online learning schools here over the next month. The one is right outside Allentown. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Palacides, I think, school. And then there's one in Lancaster I'm going to be going down and touring. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm going to be helping to write a blended learning grant in January for our school. I plan on finishing the Millersville Online Education Endorsement Program too, because I've really enjoyed this and I have learned so much. So my unit for online teaching is a unit in Microsoft Word, and it's how do I present Microsoft Word or Publisher drawing tools to market products in the business world. The first time I did this, I just want to mention that we had students we told them that they were making a candy bar wrapper. And most of the time I'll be assuming I'm making a candy bar wrapper. But after reading this lesson and having learner centered activities, I would open it up and say, okay, you decide what kind of product you want, and then you can create all the features that we're going to be learning about for the business publisher project here. So I would be introducing how are drawing tools used in Microsoft Word and Publisher. So I'd be introducing how to do that. Then when designing a business print, what must be included? What is the difference between a logo and a trademark? What's a slogan? And how do I create a business print? So that's my overall unit. I would use the synchronous tools. I would definitely use a virtual classroom. I would have the breakout sessions and use like the WHIP method in the small groups in D2L for discussions on logos, trademarks, and slogans. I really enjoyed how I got to see the videos, and whenever in the one math, I'm sorry, I don't remember what the teacher's name was, but it was in the one math class, she broke everyone out in different groups, and she goes, okay, go figure out this problem, discuss it, and you have 2-3 minutes, and then we'll come back on and talk about it. And I would like to have a breakout session like that for the different logos, trademarks, and slogans, and maybe even have a competition to, who can come up with the most, who can come up with the most logos, who can come up with the most trademarks and slogans, or who could stump who with the slogans. That would be kind of a fun little competition in there. I would like to have an asynchronous tool to use for the demonstration of how to use the drawing tools in Microsoft Word or Publisher, and have like a mini lesson in text and video. I've always loved how at the beginning you guys always put together a short video clip on the important integral parts of a lesson, such as like how to embed the video, which it never fails. I forget if I haven't done it for a while how to do that, and then I have to go back and watch that video again. And I just think that is so helpful and so important. And what I would do in mine is I would demonstrate how to get shapes in, how to change the order, how to group, how to ungroup, how to change the text wrapping. I'd have the students screencast the final project or presentation and have them present that too. For collaboration tools, I would be using discussion boards. I'd have one for a real-time chat. Like I would maybe say, okay, I will be on from like 7 to 8 o'clock p.m. on Tuesday nights, or try to find a time. Ask the students what would be the best time for me to be available for a real-time chat. And after polling them and seeing, then I would create the time that would work the best. I would have one just for socializing. Right now, I know there's a lot of fear in that in my school, just because of the legal aspects, which I'm hopefully going to learn in the next class. But you can't post until the teacher reads it and everything. So I'm kind of curious. Some teachers get frustrated. Well, they get on there and all they do is socialize. That has nothing to do with class. But I think in an online class that's important too. Then I wouldn't mind having one for questions and answers. Hopefully the students would help me answer those. I would have another one maybe partway through as following up on how the project is going, any problems students might be having, and just kind of checking in. And then I might have another blog or discussion board on what kind of recent trademarks or logos are in your community. For example, Hershey Bears, they had a logo for an outside skating rink. I think it was last year or something. One of my students came up with. So it'd be nice to kind of see recent and current activities or events that have trademarks going on, like a lot of races, car races or running races. They all have those. And then I would also use Google Docs. I'd have students check each other's work for the key components of the business print. And I would have a checklist out that they would kind of check off, because I love the checklists. And it would be, is a logo present? Yes, what is it? Do they have a slogan? Yes, what is it? Do they have, a trademark? And go through that list. And that would be another way for them to collaborate, see what the partner is saying about their project, and then make any changes they might need before it's over. For special considerations, I would have a rubric. I would include the content, the relevance, frequency, and timeline. And I would also definitely do the checklist, like I was just describing in that last project there for collaboration. I love the checklist in D2L that we go through because I can see what I've done and what I need to do yet. For this biggest ahas about online teaching, I love the synchronous learning videos. It was fascinating to see the actual virtual classrooms, what occurs, how students act, what all teachers go through. And I also really enjoyed the asynchronous learning when we had to create the mini lesson in D2L. I was so frustrated at the very beginning, but it goes back to, after confusion, then you have that learning experience, and that's what happened to me. In that beginning, I felt like I was choking. I'm like, I can't do all this. But then as I got through it, I was like, oh, okay, I did this, but I need to do this better. I did this, but I didn't get to see students raise their hand. I need to pay more attention to that. And again, it's more hands on, and you learn a lot more as you go through and do that. My biggest questions regarding online learning is the technology aspect is who's responsible for the computers. The students get these computers. Do the students buy them? Do the parents buy them? Does the school supply them? And setting them up and just general use. To me, that's like a big factor because how are you as an instructor or a teacher going to help if you don't exactly know what kind of computer they're using? So is it something standard that you recommend, or does everyone have their own and they're just responsible for their own? That's one of the issues I worry about just because I know I have that. It just never fails that there's some little glitch. And I always appreciated how you would say, okay, this might occur, and if so, maybe you need to turn off your pop up blocker or turn on something. That was always very helpful to me. But if you don't know what technology they have, who it would be responsible for that. And then my other question is they keep saying about how teachers have to be open to the change and open to online learning. And if you want to go towards more of the blended learning in your school district, how would you create professional development to implement that? So I know that me being on the blended learning committee, our next step for our school is to try to get more teachers on board with the blended learning, and we're going to try to come up with some type of professional development for them in the spring. And I was just wondering if you had any suggestions for that. So, all right, thanks for a great class. I've learned so much. I can't even tell you how much I've learned. Have a good one.